Okay, everybody, ignore our mess in this room here. This is our rodent slash reptile room. And today I'm going to be feeding this frozen thawed fuzzy mouse to my bull snake, who is over here in this little enclosure, which I don't think he's too incredibly happy about. You may be wondering why I moved him to this enclosure to feed him. And the reason is, forgive my sniffles here, the reason is actually has nothing to do with what people call cage aggression, which is when your animal supposedly will associate your hand with food. I actually don't really believe that for the most part, and especially because we actually do take our animals out to socialize them. They really don't associate us with food. However, a really real risk that we have, especially in this cage, since we just changed his bedding, I actually have aspen bedding in this cage right here, and it's coursed or it's ground up kind of coarsely, and in some places it's actually really fine. I don't know if you could see it through here. And what I would be worried about is if I placed that frozen thawed fuzzy mouse in here, that he would accidentally swallow some of this as well, and it can cause impaction, which is really harmful because it could disrupt our digestive tract and could unfortunately also lead to death. And I really obviously don't want that to happen. We love this little guy. He's super cool. He's a ton of fun. So we're just going to go ahead and feed him in this enclosure for now. Once he gets a little bit bigger, I think we'll be okay feeding him back into here again. There shouldn't be much of a risk of it, but since he is still a little dude, we did put him in here. And like I said, he wasn't too happy about that. If you guys are familiar with bull snakes, a lot of you might know they have a little bit of an attitude. And Yuki, as this one's named, is actually a really friendly bull snake. Never really shown much aggression towards us, pretty much whatsoever. But when I put him in here, he did his little tail rattling thing, and he is a little confused. He knows this isn't his home, and he's like, what the heck? So without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and feed him. As I stated earlier, I am feeding frozen thawed because I feel as though that is the safest thing for my reptiles, as well as the fact that, well, we have pet rats, and I just absolutely don't like feeding anything live, and especially not if there's really no reason for you to. So here is the mouse. Came just like this. Got this from PetSmart. And basically you'll set it out for a little bit and thaw it out, and you will feed him. Now, I do have feeding tongs as well. That reduces your chance of getting bitten. However, for some reason, both of my snakes kind of freak out over the tongs, and they seem to just do a little bit better if I just kind of hand feed them, and I've honestly never had any problem. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and leave this little fuzzy kind of down in here. As you can tell, little Yuki here is already having it. And there he goes. And I'm going to back up over here real quick. Sometimes he'll kind of spit it out if he sees me. Bull snakes are kind of known to be ferocious eaters, and I have figured that out. Little Yuki actually came to us from the wild, which I am a person that says leave wild animals in the wild where they belong. However, this little guy, if you think he's little now, when we first found him a few months ago through my job at Animal Services, was actually about half this size. I mean, he was tiny, and I've seen pictures and videos of newborn bull snakes right out of the egg. I really think this little guy was just right out of the egg. I mean, he was just a tiny little dude. And so we fattened him up a little bit. He's been drinking and eating like crazy. As you can tell, he already took down that little mouse here. I'll leave him in here for just a second. I'm going to shut this off. I'm going to wait for that to go all the way down in him, and then we'll move him back into his cage, let him warm up for a little while, and leave him alone for a few days and let him digest. So anyway, little Yuki came to us again as a wild snake, and we ended up just keeping him because, again, he was just tiny, just basically a hatchling. And the night that we were actually going to release him after we found him at the Animal Services, it was actually due to have a really nasty dust storm, and my wife and I just felt horrible for him. And we decided, well, If we can get him to eat frozen thawed, and if he seems to take to captivity really well, we'll just go ahead and keep him inside. Again, wild snakes belong in the wild. This was a decision that her and I both made. And we agreed this was the best course of action because he was just a small little dude and we did not want to see him get hurt or anything. And we just fell in love with him. And honestly, he's just so docile and tame. You would think that he was already like a captive bred animal. So there it is. There's a little Yuki eating, and I'm about to feed our ball python Yori, so you guys are going to stay around for that as well.